let's take a trip back in time. These same people, these Anunnaki people arrive same way. They come with to create a breakaway civilization according to the ancient tablets, not according to Billy Carson. According to the ancient tablets, they came here to create a breakaway civilization. And in doing so, they interacted with an existing hominid who was our cousin, human beings' cousins, not Homo sapien yet, but Homo sapien, Homo something, definitely erectus, and engaged them. And at that time, of course, we thought they were gods. Why? Because they had advanced technology. They had things that looked magical to us. When a more advanced civilization runs into a less advanced civilization, the less advanced civilization deifies the more advanced civilization. That's just the way it goes. And so we deified them, and we became their slaves without knowing we were their slaves. And so that's what happened.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.
One of the things that they talk about, these ancient sky gods from the ancient past, is they talk about having the capability of being ordainers of destiny. Okay, that's what they call themselves, the ordainers of destiny. And what does that mean? When you start to analyze these tablets in this text, you begin to realize that these beings were talking about creating realities on this planet. They were talking about creating realities, creating paradigms, and also creating future outcomes based on what they themselves wanted to see roll out or unfold on this planet. And that's pretty interesting because that's manifesting. Now, they were talking about doing these things as if they were already going to be done. That's pretty powerful. In other words, their plans in their mind were so powerful and their vision was so powerful that they can actually see the multiple opportunities or situations that would occur, and then they collapse the one that they specifically wanted into reality, and they would decree it, and then they would ordain it as being so. That's powerful. Now, I won't disagree with you that a lot of these beings were pretty malevolent. In other words, they were pretty evil people, most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. Why were they evil? Well, because they masqueraded as gods. They abused our freedoms. They enslaved us without making us think we were slaves. And they, to me, in my personal opinion, it was just a lot of mental and physical abuse, especially when you read the tablets about what Enlil did to human beings, killing off 100,000 here, 100,000 there, dry the crops out. Too many people making too much noise. They're clamoring too much. Just kill them off. We were treated as cattle. And so I agree that a lot of these beings were not the nicest of people. Some of them had a kind heart and showed empathy, like Enki and Thoth, the Atlantean priest king in Africa. You know him as Tahuti, right? In Mesoamerica, he's known as Lord Pakal, Kukulkan, Viracocha, and these other names. He's known as Nigazita in Sumeria, and there's several others as well that really did have a heart for human beings, and felt guilty as to some of the things that they colluded with against people. But the ones that were pretty hardcore and evil, like Marduk, aka Amun-Ra, and a few others, they really understood the power of manifestation and the reality that they wanted to create on this planet, and they would make decrees into those realities. They even had something called a crystal tablet that they would look into. Sounds a lot like a phone or a iPad or whatever you call it, right? But they had a crystal tablet. On this crystal tablet, they would see the future outcomes. This is in Sumerian tablets. They would see the future outcomes on this crystal tablet. And then, based on the future outcomes that were there, depending on who was ruling or who was trying to manifest this particular reality that they wanted, they would actually then pick one of these realities. Now, let me break this down for you. In quantum mechanics and quantum physics, everything exists. All realities exist in superposition of each other. Superposition. Look that up when you get some time. This is quantum physics and quantum mechanics. What does that mean? that means that any future reality that could possibly exist does exist. In other words, in some future realities, right now, in this exact moment, I'm not sitting at this desk talking to you. I'm outside eating dinner at the kitchen or in the dining room, or I'm taking a walk in the neighborhood, or I'm in the gym working out, or I'm playing basketball, or I'm on a trip to another country. I could be on a spaceship to another planet. There's unlimited potential future outcomes. So they had the concept of the quantum field. And then now, what do? They knew how to use conscious thought backed by action to collapse the quantum field into one particular reality, the one that they wanted to see. Here's a tablet from ancient Mesopotamia, tablet 1. They planned a city. They planned it. The gods, we're talking about the Anunnaki when you hear the word gods. The gods laid its foundations. They planned the city, Kish. Kish is where the black people were. The Igigi founded its brickwork. The Igigi were the working class Anunnaki. You had the Anunnaki pantheon that were here. And then underneath them, they had these working class people who had volunteered to help do the work in this breakaway civilization. And the purpose and the reason for that was to have a fresh start, a new opportunity on a new planet, a new life, so to speak, that they would build for themselves. Just like if we were here, leave here and go to Mars and be part of a new civilization, we have to go there. They're only going to handpick people that could contribute something to the civilization or the society. These Igigi were the working class people, according to these tablets. Let it be there, the people. Let it be there that the people shepherd. Let Etana be their architect. The great Anunnaki gods, ordainers of destinies, sat talking their counsel concerning the land. The creators of the four world religions, establishers of all physical form. By command of all of them, the Igigi gods ordained a festival for the people. No king did they establish over the teeming peoples. At that time, no headdress had been assembled, nor crown. So they're talking about this is a time even before they had established kings on earth to rule over people. No throne daisies whatsoever had been constructed. Against the inhabitant world, they barred the gates. The Igigi gods surrounded the city with ramparts. Ishtar came down from heaven to seek a shepherd. Ishtar came down from heaven. She came down from space. Ishtar is what Easter is all about. She is the goddess of Easter. It's really all about Ishtar. Translated her name now from back then to the future, from Ishtar to Easter, but it's really Ishtar. It's a Sumerian, a Babylonian tradition. Came down from heaven to speak with a shepherd and sought for a king everywhere. Emina came down from heaven to seek a shepherd and sought for a king everywhere. And Lil examined the days of Etana, the man whom Ishtar steadfastly, and some piece of that tablet is missing. Then she consistently sought the king in the radiant throne. And then it goes on to talk about that Enlil showed his sister a crystal tablet. And on this crystal tablet, a city that he had built, that he will build. And this city and this construction technique will last for all time on this planet. This guy is talking about planning not for, understand the mindset, planning not for next week, planning not for next month, planning not for next year or the next 10 years. He's planning for all time. And so what I was trying to tell you before, some of these guys weren't the greatest people, and Lil definitely was not one of the greatest people, obviously, within this pantheon. However, you can learn something from what they're talking about here. What can you take from this? What can you glean from this? They walked in their own true power. They understood the power that was inside of them. It doesn't make them right with what they did on this planet, but what it does do, it can teach us a lesson on how to create our own reality, how to walk in our power. Because according to another tablet called the Myth of Adapa, human beings, according to them, according to these sky gods, were created even more intelligent and higher than them, but we had just not tapped into it yet. at a time in the future, we will realize our true power. That time is right now. To walk in your true power as who you really and truly are. That part made it into the Bible as the angels were jealous of the humans because the humans were created higher than them. That's where it came from, the myth of Adapa. Read that ancient tablet. Almost word for word, they copied it right into the biblical text. The point I'm making here is this guy and his people are ordaining realities. In other words, they understand the power. They're commanding specific things to be have an outcome on this planet that they want to see. And then the plan that this guy makes, he plans for all time. Let me tell you something. When I read that, I had to sit back in my chair for a minute. I had to meditate on that. The average person will read across that and glance and skim across that and keep on going. I had to stop because you see, I understood the power. I understood the power in what was just told to me. The power is this. When you are living out here in this financial matrix, for example, this is just one example, you get a paycheck, whether you're getting paid on a contract, whether you're getting paid on a paycheck from an employer, or whether you provide services and you get paid randomly, whatever, you're getting money on a specific schedule, time scale. Most people are planning for what they're going to do with that check when it comes in. Oh, I got to pay this, I got to pay this, I got to pay this. I'm going to take this little bit and save it here, and this going there, and then I'm going to spend, I got to buy some clothes, and I got to do this. We are living paycheck to paycheck on this planet. The majority of people on this planet are living paycheck to paycheck. Some have benefited to be able to live maybe paycheck to every 3 or 4 paychecks. Very few can go 6 months, and very, very, very few can go a year without earning any income, right? One time I went almost 7 years without making any money. But that's rare. The point I'm making is I was working on a plan for the end of that 7 year where I took that 7 years off. I was making my plans for what I was gonna do to jump back into the world of the financial matrix to make money again. This guy planned for all time. You see what I'm saying? So what it's telling you is we have to think bigger. That literally shifted my thought process. It was a paradigm shift for me. You may not can see it here right now on this board, but where I'm pointing to it says legacy. And it's almost in every video that I have. I have this legacy image behind me. I look at the legacy image every single day with the infinity symbol on it. Because I understand that what I learned from this dude, who I do mean a dude, wasn't no God, didn't create anything, just a masquerader. But he understood his own power. He said he's created these plans for all time. And they still have persisted till this day. That was 8,000 years ago when he said that. Guess what? His diagram, his floor plan for construction for cities is still persisting till this very current day. His plan that he put in place 8,000 years ago, he installed a bicameral Congress in Mesopotamia, which went around the entire world, and it's the same exact political system we operate under today in the United States. His plumbing system that he created is the same plumbing system that we're living under and operating for right now. All these things that this guy did, the education system he created, the fiat currency he created fiat currency and inflation 8,000 years ago. So what's happening here? We're seeing somebody who understood exactly what they wanted to do, and he planned for all time. And his plan is still in operation until this very moment. We're talking about eons have gone by, and it's still here. I took that information, I took what he did. How can I utilize that in that concept of thinking, the way of thinking for planning in my life? So I started researching long-term plans. I found a few corporations that were thinking like Enlil, Mitsubishi. They have a 300-year business plan. They have a 300-year business plan. 300. They're not planning for, 5-year plan. Most people make a business plan 5 years. I got a 5-year business plan. That's what I usually make a 5-year business plan, right? They make a 5-year business plan. No. This guy has, Mitsubishi has a 300-year, and a few other corporations I found had 500-year plans. So their corporation, what they're saying is our corporations are going to stand the test of time, number one. They've already ordained that their corporation will not go down regardless of economical conditions, regardless of political situations, regardless of religious situations on the planet, regardless of wars. There's nothing that's going to take down our company, regardless of who's coming in out of the company and coming in the company and coming out of the company, leaving the company. No matter what, this company will sustain and persist. And here's our 500-year business plan. Thinking into the future, creating future realities with conscious thought, getting more futuristic every year that goes by, but still being in this exact year and time. You can take a lot from this type of thinking. Imagine sitting back and creating a plan for all time. And people say, well, why do I? When I got that information from those tablets and I read that and I noticed that these guys were talking about ordaining destinies. They would ordain future outcomes of kings on the planet. Years before the king would even be born, they would ordain a king. How in the world did they know this? Because they had these crystal tablets. They would see realities. They call them the tablets of destinies. It was the name of these tablets. And whoever had control of these tablets would have power and control over the entire galaxy. They were stolen a couple of times, so the power had shifted a couple of times, according to the Sumerian tablets, not according to me. However, the owner would see these destinies, these superpositions in quantum mechanics, and then pick the one that they want to collapse into reality, and then focus so intently the flame in the mind on that, and then put the conscious actions behind it to make it come into fruition.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.
We're going to read from the Atra Hasis tonight, all right? And the reason why I'm doing this is because I know the majority of people are never going to read this text. So I'm going to read it for you, and you're going to listen. Now, there are some dead spots or some question mark spots where some of the stone was damaged and some of the wording could not be deciphered, right? So let's get into this. When the gods instead of man, so we're talking about these gods, but notice the gods even in here have a lowercase g, not a capital G for the creator of the universe, a lowercase g, meaning man has deified these people, even though these people were not the creators of the universe, but they had advanced knowledge and advanced technology. They did the work and bore the loads. So the gods used to do the work and bore the load. Now think about this for a second. What are they talking about, do the work? They're talking about, this epic is kind of really beginning when these people came down from heaven to earth and began to turn mud into a kingdom. In the ancient Kemetic text, right? Then the Turu turned mud into a kingdom. These are the same exact people from the land of Kemet. Now they say when the gods instead of man did the work and bore the loads. The gods' load was too great. Now think about this for a second. Why in the world would the creator of the universe need to work and do labor and do hard labor? Why? Why would the God of the universe have to bear the load and do labor? The work was too hard. The trouble was too much. Well, think about that. Well, what trouble, what work? If you're God, if you're the creator of the universe, why is the work too hard? Why is the load too hard to bear? The great Anunnaki made the Ijiji carry the workload sevenfold. Now, the Ijiji, you've heard me talk about the Ijiji, right? The Ijiji were these working class Anunnaki beings. And they were really like volunteers when you analyze the text. They were not slaves. However, they were being treated like slaves. They were being treated like lower class citizens. And so they were starting to get pissed off because they were given 7 times the workload as the other gods. And these people are, like I said, gods with a lowercase g. They're just men. They're flesh and blood people that put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you and me. So they made them carry the workload sevenfold. Anu, their father, was king. So Anu was like the head figure, right? A-N-U. Anu went up to the sky, and Enlil took the earth for his people. The bolt which bars the sea was assigned to far-sighted Enki. When Anu had gone up to the sky, and the gods of the Apsu had gone below, the Anunnaki of the sky made the Ijiji bear the workload. So these people went up into their sky ship. They're just kicking back. They got their feet up. They're relaxed. They're chilling. They said, you guys do all the work. We're going to sit back and watch from the sky. Just keep laboring. Keep creating this breakaway civilization that we started here. Keep laboring and keep digging these canals and building the buildings and laying down the plumbing and everything else. We're going to watch from the sky. Now, this is written before these Anunnaki had engaged mankind. Our cousins that were already here on the planet. They weren't Homo sapiens sapien like us, but they were a version of us. They weren't engaged by these people yet, though. These people were still doing the work themselves to create their own breakaway civilization, kind of really ignoring us and leaving us alone, believe it or not. So he says, when Anu had gone up to the sky and the gods of the Apsu had gone below, the Anunnaki of the sky made the Ijiji bear the workload. The gods had to dig out canals. Now, why in the world are gods digging out canals? So we're clearly talking about flesh and blood people. We're talking about people that had advanced technology and advanced knowledge. We're not talking about creators of the universe. So he says, the gods had to dig out canals, had to clear channels, the lifelines of the land. Talking about farming now. The Ijiji had to dig out canals, had to clear channels, lifelines of the land. The gods dug out the Tigris River. Wow. And then dug out the Euphrates. Then there's some missing pieces of the tablet. It says, in the deep, they set up the Apsu of the land. Inside it, raised its top. All the mountains, they were counting the years of loads. They had been laboring for quite some time, by the way. The Great Marsh, they were counting the years of loads. For 3,600 years, they bore the excess. 3,600 years is one rotation of their home planet around our sun. They call it a shar, according to these Anunnaki people. Hard work, night and day. They groaned and blamed each other. This is how you know they're not real gods. They groaned. They're in pain. People are hurting. This back-breaking labor going on. They groaned and blamed each other, grumbled over the masses of excavated soil. Let us confront our masters, the Chamberlain, and get him to relieve us of our hard work. Come, let us carry, then it says the Lord, I think it was trying to say Lord Enki, something to the counselor of the gods, because it's a broken piece of the tablet. The counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling, come, let us carry Enlil. Enlil is Yahweh in the modern day Bible. Let me tell you that again. In the modern day Bible, Enlil is Yahweh. He is the God that came back to Eden and noticed that the people had gained some damn sense and realized that they weren't freaking animals and put on clothes and got some knowledge in their freaking head from Enki, and they got pissed off about it. Enlil is the one, if you read the Epic of Gilgamesh and a lot of these other ancient tablets, that's killing off humans by the thousands and tens of thousands because they're just making too much noise. We're talking about a very evil person, an evil person that ruled over this planet for quite some time. The council of the gods, the warrior from his dwelling. So they said, let's get to Enlil and talk to him. We got to get to the counselor of the gods. This guy's the head man in charge. We need to holler at him and tell him, hey man, our backs are breaking here doing this labor. Then Allah made his voice heard. Oh, Allah. You thought that came from the Quran? No, it comes from the Sumerian tablets. And spoke of the gods, his brothers. There's a gap about 8 lines right here. He says, come, let us carry the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. Come, let us carry Enlil, the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. Now cry battle. Let us mix fight with battle. The gods listened to his speech, set fire to their tools, put aside their spades for fire, their loads for fire god. They flared up. When they reached the gate of warrior Enlil's dwelling, it was night in the middle watch. So what's happening here? There's a coup going on. There's a coup going on.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.